On behalf of Colonel Stackel and the nursing team of Brooke Army Medical Center, we would like to extend a warm welcome to Colonel Bruton, the BAMC Chief Nursing Officer. Colonel Marsh, the Deputy of Nursing Services. Colonel Davis, the 959th Medical Group Commander. And Colonel Winnick, the 959th Medical Group Chief Nursing Officer. And the many distinguished military and senior civilian leaders, trusted mentors, dear friends, and esteemed colleagues, as well as all of the service members and DoD civilians joining us here today. We are honored, and thank you for joining us at today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Colonel Stackel, Hospital Commander, Brooke Army Medical Center.
All right, well, thanks, team. It is great to be here with all of you. This week has a particular a great spot in my heart because I'm the son of a nurse. So my mom is a nurse, way back from when I think she was 19 or 20, and has really done a lot to shape who I am. And so this particular week is special for me. So before, first of all, I just want to say thanks. We have many distinguished visitors here, and then we have a real treat. We're going to get to hear from some of the patients who we have the honor to serve here in a little bit. And so I just want to thank you now, and we're going to thank you several times, but thanks for being here. The reason that we are here to do what we do is because of you and the people that you represent, so thank you. So really, before I get started with the more formal remarks, what I would like to do is recognize that this is Nurses Week, right? But just like healthcare requires a team, our nursing team is really critical, and it's made up of a number of different folks, right? So you have the RNs, the leaders of that team, but we also have other nurses, our technicians, our medics, and our CNAs that are part of that. So what I'd like to do is have everyone who falls into one of those categories, if you can please stand up for me. And there should be I know there's a lot of you, so please do that. And so really, before I have you sit down, this week is about you. This week is recognizing what each of you do in your role on that nursing team. And I just wanted to be able to get a chance to show just how many great people we have, and for all of us to be able to look at you and thank you. So thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, you can go ahead and be seated. And so today we really have the privilege to kick off Nurses Week 2024. And this year, the national theme is empowering nurses and strengthening healthcare systems. And then we have our own motto that we've added on to that, and that's the power of caring. And this theme really, it paints our nursing staff not just as healthcare professionals, because it really is more than that, but really true superheroes in their field, embodying both strength, compassion, and most importantly, an unwavering commitment to take care of those that are sick and injured. So here at BAMC, as I mentioned, our nursing team is comprised of both civilian and military nurses, technicians, medics, and CNAs who really bring a lot of diverse knowledge and experience to the healthcare team. And this dynamic fosters an environment that is rich in mentoring and communication, which really is absolutely critical for us to help model and develop that next generation of military nurses. And so our experienced civilian nurses, I'll take just a moment to comment on them. They offer a reservoir of knowledge and stability, which really is essential in preparing our younger nurses, our military nurses, to be able to develop into the exceptional nurses that they will become. And this mentorship is not as crucial, not only for skill development, but also for strengthening the very core of our healthcare system. And our team of diverse nursing specialists represent a broad expertise in nursing. We've got nurse case managers, we have nurse practitioners, we have RNs, LVNs, and the list goes on of the different experts that we have in the nursing field. And really, each member of that team plays a pivotal role. And I think it's important for all of us to recognize that and really to create a situation where folks can practice at the top of their scope of practice. By enabling each member of our team to operate at the peak of their training, we not only optimize performance of the entire team, but really what that does is it fosters a sense of pride and a sense of accomplishment by the individual. And so this approach to practice, it's not just about empowerment, it's also about connection. And so if you think about it, nurses are oftentimes the first point of contact for a patient when coming in contact with the healthcare system. It's the nurses that are at the bedside. It's the nurses that are the folks that patients turn to in their most critical time and vulnerable moments. And today, as I mentioned before, we have the real privilege to get to hear from some of those patients who are going to share their stories of what nursing staff here at BAMC meant to them and the power that it had in their lives. What I think that is important to do is that it really focuses on what I think oftentimes we don't talk enough about, and that's the human element of healthcare, right? It's that individual person to person, individual to individual, which I think is why we're in such a blessed profession of healing. So really, in our continuous quest for excellence, our nursing team's commitment to process improvement is unmatched. It is this proactive stance and innovative mindset that drives us forward, ensuring that BAMC not only meets, but exceeds the standards within healthcare. And this commitment is not just about maintaining quality. It's about setting new benchmarks in the realm of patient care. And so if several of you were here last week, but we had an opportunity amongst all the department leaders, we gather here once a week, and we were looking at a variety of different metrics that we at BAMC use to see how we're doing. We have some business metrics, some quality metrics, but some of the metrics that we were looking at were with regard to patient satisfaction. And so it was not surprising to me at all that not only do we do really well and exceed DHA standards in the area of patient satisfaction, we really were actually the number one hospital in the military health system for patient satisfaction. And much of that is because of the people in this room and your colleagues. Additionally, we looked at patient satisfaction rates, not just for the military hospitals in the Department of Defense, but we also compared ourselves to the civilian hospital systems that are here in the San Antonio area. And you will not be surprised that BAMC was number one by a wide margin. Again, we are an excellent healthcare facility that provides high-quality care, and we do it in a way that is patient-focused and patient-centered. And so I appreciate all the role that you have in that. And so really, as we celebrate this Nurses Week, what I would ask us to do is remember that our strength is both in our unity, but also our diversity. Diversity of experience, diversity of skill. It's all of those things coming together that makes BAMC and our healthcare team one of the best in the world. So each member of our nursing team brings a unique set of skills and experiences that enrich the entire team. Like the superheroes that all of you are, these powers you bring together are not only to safeguard, but also enhance the lives of those that we serve. And so what I would ask all of us to do is to use this week to reflect not only on our achievements, but also to learn from each other, to recommit ourselves to, I think, one of the most noble callings, the profession of nursing. Because really, it's about ensuring that we empower each other, and together we will be able to continue to strengthen our healthcare system. And so to all members of the nursing team, thank you to each and every one of you for the compassion that you bring, the dedication, and the expertise that you bring to Team BAMC as we carry out our noble mission. So here's to celebrating the power of caring, the power of our people, and the extraordinary power of our nursing professionals. Thank you very much, and have a great, happy Nurses Week. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to break from tradition and introduce a few people who would like to share their story of the power of nursing. Would you please come forward, sir?
Good morning. My name is David Jersky, and I feel kind of bad with y'all applauding me because I should be applauding you just by the fact that I am still here. November 3rd of 2022, I was burned in a house fire. I had third-degree burns to mainly my lower legs, placed in a coma for several weeks, ended up losing 8.5 toes and a good portion of my left foot. I'm told, thanks to the wonders of ketamine, that I had a heart attack, I had a blood infection. I do remember I am a type 1 diabetic, which, as nurses know, will complicate injuries. The care that I received at this hospital was just phenomenal. I wish I could describe every interaction that I had that demonstrated that, but I've chosen just a couple. One of them was when things were not looking real well for me. My mother and daughter were contacted by a member of the counseling staff saying that we probably need to speak about end of life, palliative care, because I was not doing well. And of course, this hit my family very hard. And then, I guess after that conversation, my mother and daughter were discussing it, and my nurse overheard them. And she said, we're not there yet. You don't need to have that conversation. I don't know that she said, you don't need to have that conversation. But she assured them it's not the time to be considering that. And that is so important to put their minds at ease so they're not worried about what y'all are doing and how you're, they don't interfere with how y'all do y'all's jobs. So that is a very important story that I was told later on. Just somebody telling my mom and daughter, we don't think he's going to die. At least the nursing staff said, basically, we're not going to let him die. So another interesting story was when I was picked up by the ambulance. I was rescued out of the house by firemen and placed in an ambulance. And the EMTs in the ambulance, they looked at the wounds and said, BAMC. They never considered any other hospital. I'm fortunate one. If you're going to get burned anywhere in the United States, this is the city to do it in. Well, they decided to go to BAMC. I really don't remember much of it, but I remember getting to the ER, and they're asking me all the questions. Do you want a blood transfusion? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want fentanyl? And when was the last time you heard something good about fentanyl on the news? I've since learned that hospital fentanyl is different from the stuff that's in the news. But my concern at the time was nobody knows where I'm at. And I looked at, the person asking these questions. I said, I need a phone. I got to call somebody to let them know where I am. And I said, I will agree to whatever you want if you get me a phone. He handed me his phone. He's like, hey, here. And I don't know how, but I either remembered my mother's cell phone number or he was in her contact list. So I'm hoping I remembered. And then finally, they told me to be brief. There was a time here where I was on one of the units, 4 East, I guess. And I'd ordered my dinner, and, of course, being a type 1 diabetic, they brought me my insulin. I took it, I'm waiting for the food, and the food never came. Called back down. Hey, where's the food? The food's not here. Didn't come. And then finally, I'm starting to panic because I know what's going to happen when the blood sugar goes too low. And I'll be damned if, the nurse on duty that day didn't show up with a bag of Burger King for me. And I'm like, man, these people go above and beyond just to make sure that I was taken care of. Now, he probably didn't want to deal with a low glucose, but anyway, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the care that I received in this hospital, because from the moment I was wheeled in to the day I finally walked out, it was top notch from everybody I encountered in this building. And I just thank you. You do an amazing job. You shouldn't applaud me. I applaud you. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm retired Chief Master Sergeant Jerry Jarvis. I had service in the military before probably all of you were born, because I'm an old fella now. I thank you for inviting me here today to be able to tell you some stories. One of the things that was interesting back in 1958, when I was first assigned to Moody Air Force Base, is I noticed that nurses wore very different uniforms than anybody else. They wore these starched uniforms with these little hats on top of them. And I was just going to say that because I'm going to give you the comparison here in a minute. Little did I know that some people are going to show up wearing that very uniform. Because everybody who was a nurse on military status, that's exactly the way they dressed. Well, that was then. And now we are here at Brooke Army Medical Center. I'm a retiree. 20 years ago, when the war in Afghanistan and Iraq was hot and heavy, everybody who worked at BAMC at that time knew the turmoil that was coming into this hospital. It's hard for me sometimes to talk about this because I volunteered to work on the orthopedic ward. And I watched young men and women returning that had their bodies so violated that it was hard to realize that they were still alive sometimes. And as you said, Colonel, nurses are the first line of defense, basically, and that's exactly what was happening on 4 West. Because those young men and women who arrived here didn't know if they were going to live or die, how long they were going to be here, what's going to happen to me, what kind of medication, what are you going to do? And the nurses were being bombarded with question after question after question. And I was there as a volunteer because I'm a listener. And I stayed there and I watched nurses with compassion, caring, making that patient something other than a number on bed number 1 or 2 in a ward in a room. And they answered those questions as best they could. And it was day in and day out that was a thing. Every time you turned around, more people arrived who had to have very delicate care here at Brooke Army Medical Center. And thinking that's not enough, well, bless your hearts. The next thing is the families started arriving. And the interesting thing that we found is that not every person has any association with the military, if you're the mom or dad, husband or wife. They didn't, some of them had never even been to San Antonio. let alone come into this huge medical center. And now our nursing staff was dealing with family members who were coming in, some of them extremely upset because they didn't know what the condition of their loved one was. And it was a trying, very trying time for them. And I could tell sometimes when things were really tough, a nurse might step back into the corner and just kind of stand there to gather themselves up so that they continue in the reality of the day. Thank God those days are over with. But you never know when you're in the military wearing a uniform, what we used to say in the Air Force, you never know when the whistle's going to blow, and it'll be time that you have to come back to reality and that type of a situation in a war zone. Thank God for this hospital. Throughout the United States, right now, there are men and women who lived through that ordeal, and they're in their life, and they're making the most of what they have. And most of it is daggone good. It was amazing to me what doctors and medical staff can do to the human body to put it back together again. And thank God for all of the people who worked there. If you worked there at that time, I applaud you. If you're working in those places now, I applaud you again for the work that you're doing. Medical services have come leaps and bounds from the time I entered the Air Force in 1957. As I tell young people, the first building I worked in the Air Force had a potbelly stove in it. And their first question is, what's a potbelly stove? But now the technology and the training that, thank God, all of you get is top-notch. And when we come here for medical care, we know, as you said, good Colonel, that it's going to be top-notch, and we care about our patients. You cared then, you care now, and I just wanted to share you a little bit of that story. Thank you very much.
What wonderful stories they have. My story is, it started about 14 years ago that I got off of work at Randolph Air Force Base. I'm a Navy retiree. My name's Manny Mendoza. And I felt a feeling in my chest that I had never recognized before. I have a daughter that's a medical assistant, and I called her up. I said, babe, my pulse is 166. Is that within normal? She said, Dad, you better get to BAMC right now because your heart's getting ready to blow up. I said, really? So I came to BAMC, and I checked in, and pretty soon a nurse is running with me on a chair to the room that I would be looked at. And sure enough, they were concerned about my heart rate. So they did everything to try to get it normalized, and it just wouldn't go back to a normal pace. So someone came up with a great idea and said, let's give him some Atomycin. They said, okay, well, let's do that. The paddles were already ready to use them. And Atomycin was ordered, and it came, and they gave it to me via an IV. and they raised my arm up in the air, and it was just hot coming down my arm, and then the screen went to a normal heart rate. So they said, there it is. So now I'm at a normal rate. So I was held overnight, and the doctor and I agreed that it was probably just a fluke and it wouldn't happen again. Never had any issues. 3 weeks later, almost to the day, same feeling, same thing. This time, I went to HEB and talked to the pharmacist, and they have the blood pressure. He says, you better get to BAMC right now. So I came again, and the same routine again. And at this point, I said, sir, I was here 3 weeks ago, and the only thing that could put my pulse back to normal was Atomycin. He said, order it. So they ordered it, and sure enough, it came back, and it's the same thing, went back to normal. So this time, the doctor says, we're not sending you home until we figure out what it is that's going on. So it wasn't very long. I would say maybe 3-4 hours. He came and he says, Mr. Mendoza, we know what it is. If you got the time, we've got the time. My wife didn't even know that I was at BAMC. I says, well, if you got the time, I've got the time. So they took me in, and they did I guess an oblation, I think it's referred to, and they had a catheterizer go up one leg and a camera the other leg or something along those lines. And they found a nerve in my upper chamber that was causing the issue, and they took care of that. Well, 15 years later, I'm having issues, and I don't know really what it is, but I was thinking it was too hot. I was at it happened to me 3 times, three issues that gave me concern. And the third one was at the Veterans Day ceremony that I was holding at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. And I would lose my eyesight, and I would lose my hearing, and I would just have to stand in a solid place for about 15 minutes, and I would regain my eyesight. And then it would go on, and no problem. So I talked to my physician assistant here at BAMC, and she says, you better go see your cardiologist. So I went to go see my cardiologist, and he gave me a monitor to wear. He took an EKG, all that stuff. And he says, you know, I'm like a plumber. I can look at your vessels, I can look at your blood pressure, I can look at all that. I says, but I think I need to send you to a physiologist. And he's the one that follows the electrical pulse of your heart. And that, I think, is what you need to go see. So I did. And sure enough, the physiologist, he says, you're headed for a stroke unless we do something. I says, is this like imminent? He says, well, we need to do it pretty quick. So sure enough, he scheduled me for another ablation. And I had already told him about what I had had like 15 years ago. And he scheduled me for it. And I now he implanted a pacemaker on me. And I named my pacemaker Wilson. Remember that movie? Let me tell you something. All you nurses out here are nurses because you were meant to be a nurse. Not everyone. Just because I want to be a nurse? No. It's got to be the perfect individual. And let me tell you something. I'm here talking to you all today because of the nurses. I wouldn't be here if I just ignored it like a lot of people And probably I even said, hey, don't worry about it, hey. But it was them that took me through the steps. And that's why I am here today. And I feel great, like a new man, basically. So, BMC, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to start off, sorry for being late. This is the first time I didn't come in with an ambulance. I didn't know where I was going or what. I had to call Miss Sarah a few times to figure out how to get over here, so I apologize. My name's Sergio Avila. I was here at BAMC 4 years ago. It was an honor to be invited to talk up here and as a civilian to share my story. It started June 15th of 2020. I tested positive for COVID-19, not knowing where I got it from, not knowing I didn't give it to anybody. I had fever probably for 7 days or 8 days, 104.5, 104.7. Nothing would bring it down to. I thought the ibuprofen I had was expired, and but it was pretty overpowering. On June 23rd, 2020, it subsided. I was like, oh, finally, I'm gonna get back to work, and I guess I woke up, or I did wake up, kind of gasping for air, and I had never felt that in my life. I'd been an athlete, worked out most of my life. Out of COVID, it's not gonna do that to me. That's what everybody would say. 33-year-old at the time. I had never even been to a hospital or an ICU. So I took myself, I didn't wait, I took myself to Baptist Emergency Hospital over there on Overlook, and they admitted me. At the time, I think my oxygen was 92%, my SATs, but I didn't even know what that meant. Now I do. But at the time, nobody really paid attention to that kind of stuff, oxygen levels. I ended up at downtown Baptist, and the last day I remember was 4th of July, and watching the big ceremony they had on TV and wishing I was out the hospital, but I was in ICU and kind of crying and stuff. But I wasn't feeling sorry for myself, but I was just, I was having my little thing. I was having my little. And on the story from what I was told, because I was, this is a story, but I was unconscious, obviously. But on July 9th of 2020, my mom had given the consent to DNR at Baptist. They said, he's not gonna make it through the night. He's on thinners. If you want us to resuscitate him, blood's gonna come out. Obviously his lungs aren't working. He's on 100% full, the machine, the ventilator. So she said, yeah, just, I guess let him go. And at that point, I was told my SAT levels were at 30%, which I'd imagine is pretty low. I guess the city had 11 machines. I'm not sure how many ECMO machines were here. I think it was 4. But on July 9th, for whatever reason, I don't know if one of y'all knows, maybe you could tell me, but I was chosen to be one of the 4 that was picked as civilians in the city of San Antonio after the rest of the hospitals had denied mine. I was too far gone, they thought. And I'm thinking y'all took it as a challenge. I was probably at the worst condition out of everybody. So I woke up, and I remember I was by myself because COVID was different. The doctors wouldn't talk to me. I was incapacitated. They would talk to my mother, and she was the one that had that kind of consent. And so they picked me up at Baptist, and they brought me over here, and they gave me ECMO. I woke up, and I had 700 messages on my phone. They had already told my family they were going to give me my phone, and I was like, people were saying praying for you and stuff. Like, why are you praying for me? I didn't even know that what had happened. And my brother sent a text, and it was like a PDF, and he goes, "I'm sending you this right now. I know you're freaking out, but." And I was all, "I told you not to tell nobody I was in the hospital," but I had already been there so long, and not knowing all this. And well, I didn't even know I was in BAMC. I didn't know what ECMO was, you know, and it was hard times, you know, and I just couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I didn't know I was that close to passing away, and I didn't know I was chosen for that, or not even knowing what that was until later. So at the end of the day, I was the only one out of the 11 people in the city that survived, I believe. And if it wasn't for you all, I mean, sorry, I don't know if you all had seen me in the hospital or not, because everybody was masked up and they didn't have names or in suits. And so forgive me if I don't recognize you, but I'm also going to apologize, because I know it was pretty bad in there. If I gave you a hard time, I apologize. I couldn't talk or anything, but I could use my hands and my fingers. At the end of the day, I don't think I could ever thank this hospital and every one of y'all enough. I think about y'all every day. And you know, you see TV when people say, "Oh, there isn't a day that hasn't gone by that I haven't thought about so-and-so or whatever, a loved one." But there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of y'all. To me, y'all are my angels, and always will be. And I know it's Nurse Appreciation Week, but every day to me is a Nurse Appreciation Day, okay? So thank y'all.
Wow, that was amazing stories so far, and I just consider it an honor to be here in front of you all. My name is Dave Bonney. I'm now I work with First Command, help military families. Help them get squared away financially. But 30 years ago, I was an oncology patient, and this last week, my daughter was at BAMC having our grandson, 9 pounds 6 ounce, Samuel Lee. How do you know if there's a grandpa in the room? You don't have to know. They'll tell you. And then they'll show you pictures, right? So, but 30 years ago, I was an AWACS, 28-year-old, I would say immortal, had a lot of confidence, but was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, got staged here, and I was, you know, what do I have to do? I'm going to follow the checklist and listen to the people around me, and I got this. And I felt confident until my oncologist said, "Hey, the chemo's not working, and we're going to do 2 more rounds. And if it doesn't work, if we don't make any progress, we're going to have to try something more radical." And that was when the term radical actually meant something, and but that's not what he was talking about. I had to come to grips with my mortality, and I'm a confirmed Lutheran, and so I'm like, I'm going to heaven, but you know, heard the song, "Nobody wants to go now." Everybody wants to go, but nobody wants to go now, right? My oncology nurse, Jan Booth, who actually is a BAMC oncology nurse, she shared with me, "You got this, and it's going to be okay." I went home and prayed, but the words of Jan, just in my heart, I knew I had it. The original thoughts, and so my message to the nurses is, and the docs have the job of telling the bad news, and some of the stories that we heard today, the nurses come behind the scenes, and they make a huge difference because the confidence, the passion that you have, it just makes that difference, right? I come in 2 weeks later, the day before Thanksgiving, and the oncologist doctor said, "You're finished." I'm like, bad choice of words. You're done. It's gone. The chemo had done its job, and I was in remission, and I've been, knock on wood, in remission ever since. A few years back, I was delivering breakfast tacos for Nurses Week, and someone asked me why I was so passionate about nursing and nurses and my appreciation, and I told them the story about Jan, and they're like, "Well, I think she works here." And so she was actually working that day, and we had a nice moment after that. But this is to all the nurses, what you do, it not just affects the patient, but I've been listening to these stories and the lives and the things that we do after. It makes a huge difference in the world, even beyond the medicine. So this week, nurses, pat yourselves on the back, and everybody that supports them, congratulate them on what they do and encourage them to show up every day with their positive attitude, because you make such a difference. So thank you for letting me tell my story.
Short. Hi. I'm a little nervous, and I'm going to try not to cry, but I can't promise anything because BAMC is so close to my heart for many reasons, and I believe Arlene knew that I was probably going to talk a lot, so they saved me for last. My name is Jen. Many of you know me in here, and you know my son. So he wrote you a letter about 4 years ago. So I'd like to read that to you. It's part of a book that I have not yet been able to finish after 5 years. And it takes a lot because it's so heartwarming to be able to put these pictures in here because of what they mean to me. So this is from Tyler. It's called The Untold Journey. I see you every day, and I just want you to know. I hear you talking about me and the need for me to grow. I know it's hard. My mom cries too. But please don't worry. I'll make it through. I know I'm little. I know I'm weak. It is hard for me to even breathe. But for now, I need to depend on all these machines. My lungs aren't ready, but one day I will be. Number 1 on the swim team. My mom, she worries. This journey is rough. The road is bumpy, but I am tough. My mommy told me you guys were family. I know it's true by the way you take care of me. I noticed that you always took care of my mommy too. I saw when she was scared and didn't know what to do. You held her hand and hugged her tight when all she could do was cry all day and night. You shared her laughter, you shared her joy. You helped her hold me and give me my first toy. You poked me a lot every single day, taking my blood gases more than I can say. I noticed sometimes you scratched your head a lot. I'm on my own program most of the time, not textbook nor taught. At the end of your shift, I see you so tired from such a long day. I hear when you lean over me and pray. I know it was hard. I saw you cry too. I knew I would be okay though. I just needed to get through. I'm here today because you believed. Thank you for everything, and thank you for loving me. Tyler was born at 23 weeks and 2 days gestational age in 2019. I remember going to the MFM clinic 2 days before that to get my first sonogram, and I was like, yes, I'm old. I got this. We're going to beat statistics. Yeah. 2 days later, I had to run into the garage to get Dad, and we got to BAMC, and within 30 minutes, I was getting a C-section, and a 30-second statistical of less than 0.01% chance of survival. And I don't think that anything I wrote on this paper to give a speech would ever be able to express the amount of love and care and the special place that nurses, NICU nurses, peds nurses, oncology nurses, any type of nurse badge, I don't care what place you hold in my heart. I will read this. When Arlene called me, I was very honored to be able to express my son's testimony, because nurses, oftentimes you guys try so hard, and you have people like me who come in, I'm retired. Everything's a 3-letter acronym in the military or 4-letter, and I had no idea what anybody was telling me. I was scared. It was the first time I had actually been really scared in my whole life that I was going to lose something. So I'll read this without further ado. If I could express in actual words what this phrase means to me, the power of caring, no one would return to work for the next 7 years, because I would need that much time to express it. It is not a choice to be caring. It is something that is felt. Tyler being born at 23 weeks and 2 days, I was given my 30-second statistical brief on his chances of survival. Often, especially on his birthday, I remember the look in the eyes of the neonatologist who was holding my hand when she asked me, "Do you want to resuscitate?" Caring for a human life was not the question. The love instilled in me in that moment gave me the response, yes. Throughout 446 days of many forwards, backwards, sideways, long ways, dreary days, I had hope. Little did the many people who surrounded me daily know that not only were they saving my son's life, but they also were saving mine. As I recall the days I could not breathe while my son struggled to take a breath, the nurses, the technicians, the lab techs, the RTs, the many doctors who held me as they were falling in silence. I watched a nurse once cry when my son required life-saving interventions. I watched the nurses hold tubes and wires, the pokes and the sticks, celebration of little milestones like poop, and hold me while I cried for the happies. They were my cheerleaders as well as my protectors, and hold me while I already read that part. They were my cheerleaders as well as my protectors, the angels of heaven instilled in the heart of a profession that is not often only seen and never understood. I understood them. I felt their hearts, and I saw the love and the care that they gave to my son and to my family, the kindness and the spoken words of encouragement. How do you thank someone that you have never met, that saved your life over and over again, but a simple, kind word of thank you? You can't. There will never be a number of words that could render the proper thank you to the hearts of the people who stand in front of you and say, "We did our best," and not knowing that their best is the reason that my son survived and is here today living his best life and will turn 5. They not only believed in the endless days of trauma, but they taught me how to take care of this child and how to ensure that we did not fail. If I could only tell you what that means to me, the laughs we shared on the days we didn't know if the NICU would have to close for the loss of life, or if we were just winging it, praying that we made it to another day, the bath times they helped me with, the holding. Oh, the holding. 5 nurses, 15 RTs, and techs. Every neonatologist in the NICU was in there. And the way I held my son for the first time, and having the heart of the NICU right by my side. That love, that caring, that moment will forever live in my heart. The power of caring is not something that nurses have to do. It is something that they just do. I've seen it, I've felt it, I've watched it, and I am so honored to have been a part of it. In the pain, they were there. In the joyful moments, they were there. In the tough calls, they were there. In our hearts, they lived there. You can walk by a nurse and see all the things that they hide because of the shield that they place around them. That shield is the same shield that protected my son and I for 446 days and beyond. The power of caring, there is no other feeling that knowing no matter what, they show up every single time. I could not be who I am today without them, and I am who I am today because of them. My mother was an ER nurse, and I always told myself I would never become a nurse because I watched her come home every single day. Yet, here I am, doing StomaCare and changing trachs out and G-tubes and administering medications that I had no idea how to even dose. I had to read a book on what these terms meant. I did not know what SATs were either, but I figured it out. I appreciate everything and all the sacrifices that you guys make. We love you all. Happy Nurses Week. Happy Nurses Day, every single day. You will always have a special place in my family's, and my son's heart.
Thank you so much for sharing those inspiring stories of the true power of caring. As a small token of appreciation, we would like to give you these gifts. Would you please join us on stage for take a group photo at the very end? Thank you. Distinguished guests, you may return to your seats. At this time, we would like to invite Captain Levac, Chairman of Nurses Week, and Ms. Sarah Messini, Co-Chair of Nurses Week, to recognize individuals who have donated to Nurses Week.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to keep this very brief. I wanted to take a moment to express my sincerest gratitude for the support and assistance provided during the planning of 2024 Nurses Week at BAMC and ISR. As the chairman of the Nurses Week Committee, I have been privileged to work with a dedicated team of individuals who have been tirelessly preparing for this event since October of 2023. In addition to the committee members, I'd like to extend my sincerest appreciation to the Office of EMIC, PAO, Fabrication, and Legal for their unwavering support. Despite the unrealistic requests, tight turnaround times, and many impromptu office calls, they have all rallied to the occasion and have played a crucial role in making this week special for all of BAMC. I am humbled by their dedication and commitment in making this event a memorable one. Very quickly, the theme for Nurses Week is the power of caring, but the committee's theme is $62 in a dream. And while it is not polite to talk about money, I will share that a party lasting for a week for 2,200 individuals is not a cheap party to throw. And it was made possible not only through fundraising, but by a very few special guests that we have here today. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank these special guests who have reached out to provide gifts of support despite not being organically associated with BAMC. And I'm aware each one of them has close ties with a nurse and wanted to ensure that this Nurses Week is one to remember.
When you hear your name being called, please come to the stage to be recognized. Representing Omega Cares, Mr. Larry Romek. Representing Operation Comfort, Mr. Christopher Levac. Representing First Command, Mr. Dave Bonney. Thank you, Captain Levac and Ms. Sarah Massini. At this time, we would like to invite our Chief Nursing Officer, Colonel Bruton, to speak, followed by Colonel Marsh, Deputy of Inpatient Service, before we begin our Nurse Week awards.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone that helped put together Nurses Week. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our distinguished guest. Thank you to the leadership team here that supports you. Most of all, you know, I'm very proud of each and everything that the nurses represent, everything that you do in providing care to our patients, being part of a team, the communication, the research, the evidence-based practice, the leadership, everything that you represent. I am proud to be your nursing leader and to be your advocate. So, happy Nurses Week.
All right, I'll also make this very brief, and I did want to extend my thank you to the entire team, and particularly thank you to the patients who have shared your stories with us. You are the reason. You are the reason. So thank you very much. Again, thank you to everyone that has had a hand in putting this together. This is a colossal amount of work, and you all continue to raise the bar on a daily basis. So thank you very much.
And now, we would like to present some awards to our outstanding nurses. Would Colonel Stackel, Colonel Bruton, Colonel Marsh, and Colonel Winnick, will you do us the honor of presenting the tokens of appreciation to our outstanding nurses? Our first awards category is the Nurse Daisy Awards. The Daisy Award honorees personify nurses who consistently demonstrate excellence through their clinical expertise and extraordinary compassionate care, and they are recognized as outstanding role models in our nursing community. When you hear your name, please come forward. Captain Deanna Wright. Who is unable to attend today. A Miss Revi Navarez. Please come forward. Perfect. Our next awards category is the B Award. The B Award, a recognition program for exceptional healthcare team members in non-licensed nursing roles, has been launched at Brooke Army Medical Center. This program is a testament to our commitment to honoring the contributions of healthcare team members in roles such as certified nursing assistants, medical support assistants, patient care technicians, health technicians, dietary technicians, radiology technicians, and social services assistants. The following individuals were selected. When you hear your name, please come forward. Mr. Ty Quandris Williams. Who is not in attendance. Mr. Jaden Davis. Not in attendance. We will move on to our next awards category, which is Nurse of the Year. The following individuals were selected. The category is the APRN of the Year. From BAMC, Major Lauren Eby. From the ISR, Ms. Mika Gleason, who is unable to be in attendance today. Our next category is the RN of the Year. From BAMC, it's Miss Carla Rasul. Who is also unable to attend. From the ISR, Miss Carrie Pelfrey. Our next awards category is LVN of the Year. From BAMC, Miss Kathy Bernal. Unable to attend. From the ISR, Mrs. Christopher Palmer and Mrs. Maria Thomas. Mrs. Our next award category is Army Medic of the Year. Would Specialist Joshua Wells please come forward? Our next award category is Air Force Tech of the Year. Would A1C Allison Plewack please come forward? Unable to attend today. Our next awards category is CNA of the Year. From BAMC, Miss Courtney Seymour. From the ISR, Mr. Martin Zamola, who is unable to attend. Finally, we would like to thank all the hard work the Nurses Week Committee has conducted over the past few months and would like to award the following individuals for the countless hours of planning and coordinating this event for us today. Please come forward when your name is called. Captain Amy Holpuch. Major McKee Carafi. Slight mistake, just get a good picture and we'll be good. Oh. The recipients are being awarded an AAM. Major Ernest Delacruz. Lieutenant Colonel Allison McGlosson. First Lieutenant Elizabeth Barriswell. Major Jonah Beth Riviera. At this time, we would like to invite Colonel Davis to the stage. Would the following individuals also please come to the stage? Captain Molly Hart and Senior Airman Olivia Fawcett. These airmen are being recognized with the Air Force Commander's Coin of Excellence. Will the following individuals please stand to be recognized for their service of excellence? Dr. Holly Ortega. Dr. Amanda Estrada Martin. Eleanor McClintosh. Eleanor McClintosh. Megan Cruz. Jennifer Hardison. Thank you all. You may be seated. In addition to those being recognized today with awards, we would like to acknowledge that there are over 150 BAMC employees who volunteered their time and were influential in Nurses Week. For all those Nurse Committee members in the audience, please stand to be recognized. Thank you. Congratulations to all recipients of the 2024 Nurses Week. Thank you, Colonel Stackel, Colonel Breton, Colonel Marsh, Colonel Davis, and Colonel Winnick. You may take your seats. At this time, would Chaplain Glean please come forward to lead us in the blessing of the hands?
So in the words of Elizabeth Taylor to her husband, this too will be brief. Anyhow, some of you are old enough, look it up. This portion of the ceremony, the blessing of the hands, some of you know that Florence Nightingale was referred to frequently later on as the lady with a light. There was another phrase that she was referred to as well, which, some other big names like Jesus and the Virgin Mary were referred to, and that was called the Rose of Sharon. And the Rose of Sharon means the flower in the field. And it was recognized because of its endurance, of all types of weather and all types of activity. It's resilience. It can propagate by picking a stem or reseeding itself. And I just think it's very appropriate designation for not just Florence Nightingale, but for you. And with that understanding, and this part of the celebration is just a blessing of your hands. It's an identification of who you are. I personally believe that you are each divinely called and manufactured by God. I hope you understand that what you do is a ministry of healing, and you have to dig deep a lot of times. But it's so important. And so in the blessing of the hands, what we're going to do, or offer to you, and again, it's a recognition of who you are. You serve hard, but I hope that you will be able to just take away from that a memory. You know what? Pat yourself on the back, look in the mirror and say, I'm pretty classy, right? So just stay classy through all of this. And, but if you would like to participate, and it is just a moment, Chaplain Felton is on that end, and I'm over here. We'll just be standing there. If you approach us, we'll be standing out here. Just come with your hands like that. And I have some roses of Sharon oil that I would like to place on the palm of your hands, just as thanksgiving to who you are, and recognize that you are, whether you know it or not, as you walk away from here, a divine, talented, gifted, compassionate individual. And you do bring a light to those who need it. So thank you for your ministry. So at this time, if you would like to, that's your prayer, that's your thanksgiving. When you come up here, you're getting your hands in the water. So that's. And I tried to squeeze in a shot of whiskey, but that got denied. So.
Upon completion of the blessing of hands, please take your seats. We only have a moment more to go.
Go ask her what you need. Tom wants to say one word right before you close. I'd like to invite Colonel Crouton back to the stage.
And can you give me the award, would you?
Yes.
That way you can write it.
Just right after. Right before, like.
Chris can come.
Both lanes are open. If you would like to come over to this side, Major Glenn is waiting.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Please find your seats. Would Colonel Bruton come forward at this time?
All right, so those that know General Dingo, he likes to throw an Omaha. So here's my Omaha. When I came up earlier, I forgot. But as a token of our appreciation, Colonel Marsh and I have wacky socks, superhero socks, for those that participated in the Nurses Week committee. So if you, at the end of the ceremony, when it's all done, if you'll just come up and get your socks, that would be great. And then we would be remiss if we did not personally call up Miss Massini and Captain Levac, because these two really led this team. They did a phenomenal job of seeing the vision and delegating and working through lots of hoops since October. And so we just want to recognize them with a small token of appreciation.
Would you all please stand for the departure of the official party and along for the singing of the Air Force song, followed by the singing of the Army song. The words are printed on the program, so you may be able to follow if necessary.